Hey guys, Pete here. Today I'm going to go back and do my top moments video for Twin Peaks Season 3, Episode 9. It's a bit backwards, I know, but these are fun videos to make, honestly, and the show is fun to watch, and I like to talk about it, so let's jump right into it. First big moment was Tim Roth's arrival. Found out that he was Hutch. We heard about Hutch way back when we first met Chantel, and he is an interesting character. It is kind of interesting, though, that I don't know how much we're going to see of him after this part. You know what I mean? There's been a lot of different cameos where people have shown up, and we don't really know if they're coming back or not. I'm a Tim Roth fan. I enjoy his delivery, and I hope we see more of Hutch for sure, and his counterpart, Chantel, Jennifer Jason Leigh, because they seem like good characters that could definitely steal some episodes. The next big moment for me was seeing Coop's new truck. As soon as he came around the corner and we saw that the farmers were laying there, presumably dead, you could see the front end of this thing sitting there, and it's just like, this is definitely an evil Coop mobile, you know what I mean? So I was glad to see that he drove off in it, and I hope that it plays a good part in the rest of the season as well. Next top moment for me was Duncan Todd. Like, I don't know what it is about this guy's scenes, but I realize each time when I go back and rewatch that I really like the way that this character is played by the actor. And, of course, there's some intrigue involved because we saw him talk directly to Evil Cooper this time, and we know that he's been doing his bidding, and that there may be some connection with him outside of that, like maybe some Philip Jeffries or something else. So, Mr. Todd has been with us the whole way, and I think that he's definitely in the middle of something, and I hope we find out more about it. The next big moment was we found out from the Fusco brothers that Dougie Jones has no records or history of existence before 1997. This is the catalyst for them getting his prints, although quite a few people have mentioned that they should have his prints already from the gun. Either way, we got there. They are looking into who he is and why they don't know anything about him. They're actually going to get a surprise. We know that they're going to find out that it's Agent Dale Cooper, not Dougie Jones, but it definitely leads to the mystery of what Evil Coop did to bring this Dougie Jones character into the story so that he could be taken into the Black Lodge instead of Evil Coop himself. The next big moment was seeing Johnny Horne run through the house and smash his head on the wall. I mentioned in my 10 Things You Might Have Missed video that this could be a relation to him being involved in Richard Horne, like maybe he's the father. But the prevailing theory nowadays is that Johnny's going to pass away here, or that, he basically killed himself. And that's going to be the reason that Audrey comes back to Twin Peaks. It makes a lot of sense. The family would be mourning, there would be a funeral, and that would mean that wherever she's at, that she would have to probably come back because, after all, that is her brother. The next one would, in most cases, be my favorite sequence, if not moment, of this season, and that was Betty Briggs's delivery of the metal canister to Frank Truman and Deputy Hawk and her son, Bobby Briggs. This may have been eclipsed by the new character towards the end, but this is a great callback to the original run. It's a great callback to Don S. Davis, who passed away, who played Major Briggs. And it was just a really cool scene all the way around. And I have to admit that I had no clue or ever read anybody theorizing that perhaps Major Briggs put everything in place before he disappeared so that this could all happen. I mean, this was a complete surprise to me, and it was great. The chair was the next big moment. I mean, he basically laid all this stuff out, and we even see later that he had done a couple of things with Bobby so that Bobby would be ready to receive these clues whenever things came together. So it was great. The music I mentioned in my last video as well, the music kicking in while she's sitting there and her putting up her hand and saying, "Wait, I already know why you're here." I mean, it was awesome. It was just a great callback and a great scene, and it really gets the wheels turning as far as like what's going to happen when they actually make it to Jack Rabbit's palace. So yeah, the next thing would be all of this Bobby stuff. I mean, after the chair, after the cylinder, or before the cylinder, I guess. She says that Major Briggs had said that he was sure that everything would turn out. And I have to admit, I was never a big Bobby fan. He's not a character that I really cared for, but his father, on the other hand, was one of my favorites. And all this stuff that went down between them now makes it a lot better for me. And it makes me like Bobby actually some. So the fact that Dana Ashbrook he shows a little bit of range here and he does a pretty good job only makes it better. And I really do enjoy thinking about what part Bobby's going to play in light of the fact that Major Briggs won't be actually able to be in any new scenes. It also makes me think about Shelley and Becky. We find out Shelley has this daughter named Becky and she's in trouble, more or less. We don't really know how things resolved between Shelley and Bobby. We haven't seen them or heard of them in the same conversation. So there is an outside possibility that Becky could be Bobby's daughter, which would make her Major Briggs's granddaughter. So she might have a different purpose than what we have already seen, but that's a little bit out there. It's just something that pops in mind, after the fact. The next big moment was Diane and her smoking at the coroner's office. Obviously, when she dropped the line, "It's a fucking morgue," that was a moment. And I don't know. I can't foresee the time when this gets old. Like, I really enjoy Diane and her not giving a shit attitude. She's a great character. Also, Albert sort of follows this up and is not going to be outdone as he's walking down the hall listening to the detective talk about everything that happened in Hastings' life. He pulls out one of the best and funniest things where he says what happens in season 2. I think that, this was probably the funniest line in this episode, but I don't think it eclipses when he was going to meet Diane the first time, whenever he curses Gene Kelly. I think that's still my favorite Albert moment of this season so far. Right after that, the next big moment was Diane receiving the text from, at the time, we thought it was Evil Cooper. Maybe it is. Maybe it's been relayed from someone else. Either way, that was obviously a big moment. I've had a lot of people comment and bring up the idea that she has a white, black, and red nail. I didn't really pay that much attention to this. To me, it looks gray. I didn't see it as white and black. I saw it as gray, red, and black, and it sort of goes with what she was wearing. But a lot of people have brought it up. There's a lot of people talking about the idea that it's a clue towards the lodges. But I don't know why we need that right there. I mean, it's cool if that's what it is, but Evil Coop is a doppelganger that has come directly from the lodges, so I'm not sure what additional context that would add here, if you know what I mean. I don't think she's a doppelganger or that she's been to the Black Lodge, but we don't know for sure, I guess, Maybe that night, the last time she saw Evil Cooper, more than what we think happened. But either way, it is a thing. It's a thing you can think about if you'd like. We'll see what nail color she has next episode. The next moment, I think, was probably Jerry versus his own foot. And I mean, I guess it's a little bit corny and all that, but I really find this mysterious, him being in the woods. Like, I could totally see why someone might be like, this is stupid, it takes up time or whatever, because he's basically just a high old man. But I think there's probably something more to it, which is why it's tolerable and enjoyable at the same time. Plus, he's an original character and he's changed quite a bit, and it's interesting to see where he goes, The next big moment is the opening of the metal cylinder. I touched on this before, so I won't go into it that much, but, Bobby knowing how to do it because Major Briggs showed him is a big part of that, but also what is inside. And I've talked about this in both the recap and recap and review and the 10 things you might have missed. So we don't really need to go into it again. But yeah, I mean, I've got my anticipation level way up in relation to this Jackrabbit's Palace, and I'm sure everyone else does as well. After that, the next big moment was Bill Hastings, his interview, and the different information that he brought out. Obviously, it was played really well by the actor, and as I mentioned, I think Tammy did a great job in this scene too. But yeah, just so much information, which I've already touched on, so we don't have to go back into it. But it's just really cool that we know someone outside of Twin Peaks has had contact with Major Briggs, has some understanding of what's happening, whether it's, I don't know if he really knows or if he just lucked into it. But based on the fact that the Search for the Zone website's there and there's a lot of information there that ties into some of the things we've seen, I think that, Bill Hastings will actually be somewhat of a resource going forward in a lot of ways. So yeah, that was a huge moment. Hopefully it won't be like multiple episodes until we get back to that storyline. We don't really know, but obviously there's something that's going to go down within the next couple of days, and we know that Evil Coop and the guys in Twin Peaks are onto it, so we'll see what happens there. And the last big moment is this friggin' rash that this girl has at the Roadhouse. I mean, I didn't think too much of it at first. It seemed like it's probably related to the batch of drugs, the sparkle that Red has brought into town and Richard Horne is peddling around. We did get indication that someone overdosed in Twin Peaks, and that's been happening. And this scene was kind of easy to forget about towards the end because of what happened before it. But yeah, this rash is pretty insane, and I really doubt that we won't hear more about it. So yeah, those were my moments. What do you guys think? Leave me some comments. Let me know if these were about the same things that you were thinking about, or if there was other things that I missed. Please like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon.